Hello, everyone, and welcome to another special episode of In Conversation with You Journeys. And I'm your host, Palesa Ramafola. And today I'm excited to be joined by a remarkable guest whose journey spans across academia, politics, and even technology, Professor Arthur Mutambara. He is currently the director of the Institute of the Future of Knowledge right here at the great University of Johannesburg. He's also a world and internationally renowned roboticist, an author, and also the former Deputy Prime Minister of Zimbabwe. He's worked with the likes of NASA, MIT, and Carnegie University all the way in the United States. And I'm just so excited to be joined by someone of this caliber. And let me tell you, he's recently published a book about artificial intelligence and how it can actually contribute to the UN SDGs. Let's find out more from him. Prof, welcome to the show and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to share with your listeners and viewers.
Of course. And how are you today, Prof?
I'm doing okay. Busy, but doing all right.
That's exciting. So I just want to get right into your journey because we know all journeys have a starting point. So let us start right at the beginning when you decided that, no, I'm doing engineering. And then you eventually went on to robotics and to such a high level, all the way to Oxford. Indulge us.
I've always been keen on mathematics, science, high school in Zimbabwe, maths, chemistry and physics. But I was also doing the arts as well, doing very well in history and English. So I decided, look, let me start engineering, but I'll still do politics. I'll still be active in the students' union. So the motivation and the driver was mathematics and physics. And then I did electrical engineering at the University of Zimbabwe, and then got a Rhodes Scholarship, went to Oxford, did my master's in engineering, computer engineering, and then my PhD in robotics and mechatronics, robotics and artificial intelligence.
Wow.
So basically, University of Zimbabwe, University of Oxford, and then from there I went to the US.
That is exciting.
MIT, NASA, teaching and research, and so on. But always been attracted to mathematics and physics.
Wow. So basically every parent's dream child.
Well, I hope so.
Yes, I'm sure. I know my parents as well. They were in love with the STEM subjects. And I can just, you're so multifaceted, all the way from history to the arts and the maths. That is impressive.
But let me emphasize this. Every subject is important. And as I was coming up, I used to love history. I used to love English. Because what you want to do is to be a Renaissance woman, a Renaissance man, where you are multidisciplinary, where you are multifaceted. In fact, your life is more interesting the broader the things you do.
That's so true.
And so I've always, from high school, I was always broad. Because I think that every subject is important. Although my focus was mathematics and physics, but every subject is important. The more you learn, the broader your spectrum, the better.
100%. And I just want us to go back to your journey where you already, spoke about where it all started, so from Zimbabwe to Oxford to the MITs, the NASA, and now the great University of Johannesburg, So what are some defining moments from this very, vast journey of yours that shaped your career?
I think number one was getting into the electrical engineering program at UZ. That was very significant. Number two, being the president of the SRC. I used to be president of the SRC in Zimbabwe.
Wow.
And during that time, there was no opposition in Zimbabwe. So the students were the de facto opposition. So we're the leaders. And there was only one university in Zimbabwe. So being SRC president was very significant as a marker in terms of my career. Then winning the Rhodes Scholarship was very significant. That took me to Oxford. And being in Oxford was very educational, beyond the class, because you realize that you have the Oxford Union, Africa Society. It's a very competitive environment. And then after that, being a postdoc and a researcher at MIT was very significant. Also doing some stuff at NASA Lewis in Cleveland, and then NASA in California, NASA in Florida. So that was important and significant. Then writing my 2 books in America. My first book was using my PhD and my work at MIT and NASA. That was significant.
Wow.
Then my first textbook. So those were the markers in terms of my journey before I came back to Africa, back to South Africa.
Wow.
Then of course came back, became Deputy Prime Minister. That was interesting.
Yes.
Running the country with Robert Mugabe and Tsvangirai.
Imagine.
But basically, I was the younger guy and the most dynamic, and then I think I was running the country.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. These guys were just sitting there. We're running it together.
That is so exciting. I'm just in awe. You were basically president twice. Because as SRC president
that's a
in the
presidency.
only university, you're
Yes.
basically president.
Yeah, very much so.
And you had your second shot at president. You've lived many lives.
So I was deputy prime minister in the GNU in Zimbabwe from
Right.
2009 to 2013. And then before that, you're right, the SRC presidency was a big deal because it was the only university in the country. And we were the de facto opposition in the country.
Wow.
And so our role as SRC was so national. And that was between 89 and 1990.
Wow.
That's when I was president of the SRC.
That's
But before that, I was
so
Secretary General from 88
Wow.
to 89. So I was a student leader for 2 years in Zimbabwe.
Wow. That's so well decorated. I'm just wondering. So you mentioned where you did your first book and all the authoring
Yes,
before coming back.
yes.
So where does Carnegie come in? Was that with research?
Oh yeah, Carnegie Mellon was because of the research in robotics.
Right.
So MIT, NASA, Carnegie Mellon University, it was all robotics. But that's my PhD area. And so my first book is on decentralized estimation, sensor fusion for robots. So I did a lot of research at MIT, at NASA, at Carnegie Mellon University. Took that work together with my PhD, edited my first book
Wow.
in 1999.
That is impressive. And so for those who've already heard in the introduction, so you're actually the man in charge of the Future of Knowledge Institute here at the Great University of
I'm the
Johannesburg.
director and full professor of the Institute for the Future of Knowledge, where we're talking about AI and climate change, AI and the law, AI and and different sectors. So basically, we are interested in the interface between AI and sectors, but in particular, AI in medicine, AI in the law,
Wow.
AI and climate change. How can we use AI to drive the economies of the world?
Wow. So what work do you guys do besides the researching, or are you guys more a research institute, or are you in the discourse and implementation?
Well, both. We're doing the research. We're also into implementation with colleagues in industry. I also teach a class in control systems, in mechanical and electrical. So we're doing the research. We're working on implementation in industry. We're also teaching.
Wow.
But mostly our products are the books, my books. Since coming to UJ, I've done 6 books.
Wow.
Yeah. The first 3 were political, about my reflections being in government. And then there was the volume 1, volume 2, volume 3.
Right.
Then came the book on control systems, which is the second edition of my controls book that I did in the States. It's a teaching book for part 3 and part 4 and masters, control systems. Then after that, the AI book and the Global South. And then the recent book, which is AI and USDGs.
Wow.
So 6 books out of this great university, UJ. So I've done 6 books at UJ.
And counting. I know a bookworm when I see one. I just know you're working on some more.
Certainly.
Exciting.
I'm on book number 9 now.
Wow, that is so exciting. That is beautiful. And so, a birdie told me that you head the Decentralized Artificial Intelligence and Control Systems Research Group, and you guys contribute to the Future of Health Initiative.
Exactly.
Do you mind sharing, exciting things?
What we're saying is, what is the future of health? How can we use AI to drive the quality of healthcare? How can we use AI to drive access to healthcare? How can we use AI to drive research in terms of healthcare, cancers, and so on? So the future of health is driven by artificial intelligence. The future of health is driven by transformative technologies. By the way, AI must be understood as part of an ecosystem. Quantum computing is in there, renewable energy, battery energy storage systems, cryptocurrency, nanotechnologies. In other words, we must think in terms of what we call transformative technologies, of which AI is the big one, but there are others. For example, when quantum computing comes online, if you combine quantum computing and AI, it's another revolution. Sure. Quantum is not ready yet, it's still very green, but it will make your phone 10,000 times faster.
Sure.
And the language has to change from gigabytes to a new language altogether. Qubits, what we call qubits. So when you say megabytes, gigabytes, that language is so yesterday. We're coming up with a new language called qubits.
Sure.
So when you combine quantum computing and AI, it's another revolution. When you combine AI and synthetic biology, another world. Synthetic biology is about where you're creating new genes, editing genes, and resuscitating old genes. For example, we can work on your genes so that we take out all the bad stuff. So your new version will be just the good stuff about you. You know? So it's called human 2.0. So genetic
2.0.
genetic engineering, synthetic biology, a very interesting area. When you combine that with AI, it's a revolution. So we are interested in the interface of these transformative technologies, and we're doing our research in that area. Quantum is the next big thing, quantum computing.
Wow.
It's going to be major.
You guys heard it first from here. I think for those who still want to pursue or maybe pivot in career,
quantum computing is the way to go.
I think
and when you combine quantum computing and AI, that's a revolution, a new revolution altogether.
Wow.
A new way of doing computing.
Sure.
If you think your supercomputer is fast, quantum will be 10,000 times faster.
So the computer will read your thoughts. It will know what you want to say.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. So now that we've covered all the exciting, we're still going to come back. I just want to pivot a little bit while we're on this journey and sort of go into where people mostly know you from. So they probably mostly know you as the former Deputy Prime Minister of Zimbabwe. And so the question...
I think I've got a very interesting history. Some people know me as a student leader. Because when I was a student leader, the university was closed down. So I was one of the most prominent student leaders from Zimbabwe. So some people know me as SRC president. As old as I am now, I have a reputation of student leader.
Wow.
Why? Because there was a big demonstration in 88 and 89 and the university was shut down.
Sure.
For the first town, the university of Zimbabwe was shut down. So that's part of my legacy, getting the university shut down.
Interesting.
Because of revolutionary activism. But I always challenge the young people that don't be just active and not do well in school. I want to see academic excellence and social responsibility. Be SRC president, but get a first class. Be number one in class. If you come to me just shouting fees must fall and you're failing in class, we're not friends. If you come to me as the SRC president and you're not number one in class, I'm not interested in you. At the same time, if you're number one in class and you're only doing school, you're a nerd, I'm not interested in nerds. I want to see you active in society, in the church, playing soccer, being a SRC president, and being number one. So we need a versatile student. Academic excellence and social responsibility. So that's my first legacy. Then, of course, some people know me as a Rhodes Scholar, Oxford, PhD.
Many lives.
But then also some know me as Deputy Prime Minister. So I have different claims to fame.
Wow.
Starting from SRC President, Rhodes Scholar, MIT, NASA, then Deputy Prime Minister, now at the University of Johannesburg, the great University of Johannesburg, right?
Yes, that's so interesting because I think you actually
it's a very broad spectrum of legacy.
Yes. I'm sure some people possibly have that, oh, that's the same person moment. They're like, wow. Because I'm just thinking, how does someone in engineering and robotics end up in the world of politics?
Yes.
But I think you already gave us like a prelude to that because of the SRC.
It's a very good question. I want to emphasize to young people, please don't be narrow, don't be silo-driven. The broader, the better.
Right.
Yeah? Be a Renaissance man, be a Renaissance woman. Where you do everything. Of course, you might have your area of specialization, but don't be limited by your track. Be broad. So, like I said, when I was in high school, I was doing maths, chemistry, and physics, but also doing history, sociology, I was doing English. I was broad. When I was at UZ, I was an engineering student, but I was president of the SRC, dealing with the lawyers and the historians and so on. At Oxford, I was pursuing AI and robotics. But I was active in the Oxford Union, debating, and also Africa Society, running the Students' Union at Oxford. When I went to America, I was teaching rocket science, I was teaching engineering, but I was giving speeches at black schools like Howard, like Tennessee State University, and speaking at Harvard, and black students organization. In other words, I've always been broad. It's important that we are broad. The broader, the better.
Amazing. So just thinking from where you already are, the multifaceted prof, so when you look at Africa's political and even developmental landscape, what do you think are the key ingredients then for, sustainable success or even progress as a continent?
We need to learn from the Chinese. We have so many lawyers and historians running countries. Yes to lawyers, less to historians, less to political scientists, but we need the engineers, we need the scientists. When you look at the Chinese model, the Chinese leadership is driven by engineers, driven by physicists, driven by scientists.
Sure.
So in Africa, we need an infusion of the engineer in politics. We're not removing the lawyers and the sociologists and the political scientists, we're complementing them. In addition to your traditional lawyer running a country, why don't you have engineers in cabinet? Why don't you have scientists in cabinet? So the African agenda, the African future belongs to engineers, physicists, and scientists being part of the political fray, in addition to the usual suspects. That's number one. Number two, we need to be very clear about our vision. What's our national vision in South Africa? What's our national vision in Ghana? What's our national vision in Rwanda? Having had clarity on the vision, we say, how are we going to get there? What's our economic strategy? What's our strategy to take us from where we are in the valley to the house on the top of the hill? So we need this process of creating visions in countries so that we can pursue. But more importantly, in addition to a national vision, in addition to a national strategy, we need what we call a national implementation matrix.
Right.
Who is going to do what? When are they doing it? Where are the resources coming from? How are you going to measure success or lack of it? What are, the milestones, monitoring, the evaluation?
Yeah.
We are very weak at implementation in Africa. We talk a lot and
Eish.
very weak on execution. Execution is strategy. And so we need more doing in Africa. Another pillar is beneficiation and value addition. We're selling out our minerals and our materials raw. We will never develop when we're doing that. We need to move up the global value chain.
Right.
Producing cars, producing computers, producing batteries on the continent. So we need African countries to move up the value chain so that we are producing value-added products. That's another pillar we should be pushing in Africa to make things happen. But more importantly, we must embrace artificial intelligence as a driver of our economies. We must embrace transformative technologies as drivers of our economies. So those are some of the pillars I see that will make the African story different.
Would you say that there's more to learn from, let's say, the Chinese? Because I know you're possibly also popular for always referencing, the Chinese and the way that they have sort of knitted innovation and development into their own systems. How can Africa learn from them in terms of innovation and development? What else can we take from the Chinese?
Let's start with the numbers. China used to be poor like us. Okay, very poor people. If you look at 1978. Now, China has been able to move 800 million people out of poverty in 40 years.
Sure.
What did they do?
Yeah.
I mean, 800 million people out of poverty in 40 years. There are lessons there.
Yeah.
We can learn from them. Secondly, the leadership story. The leadership story about science and renewal, Every 10 years there's a change, there's renewal there. And then the importance of infrastructure. Again, learning from the Chinese. The amount of energy required to do development. And the Chinese are producing so much energy. They're working on physical infrastructure, transportation, telecommunication. Infrastructure is the economy is infrastructure.
Yes.
The Chinese have taught us that if you're going to build an economy, you must work on infrastructure.
Yeah.
Then the second lesson is around technology. They're leveraging technology, all types of technology, in particular AI. They are actually, in a way, doing better than America in terms of AI. They might win this race. Every year the Chinese are producing 1.4 billion engineers.
Sure.
America is producing 100,000. Okay? So we can learn from the Chinese on many fronts. Of course, we have issues around, democracy. Okay, their system is not that democratic, but democracy must deliver.
Yeah.
The Chinese system is delivering. Sometimes in Africa we have democracy like we have in South Africa, but it's not delivering. Yes to democracy, but democracy must deliver.
Yeah.
So the Chinese model might not be as democratic as the West would want it to be, but it is delivering to its people.
Yeah.
China now is the second biggest economy at $19 trillion GDP. America is $27 trillion, and they're coming through. In fact, that number is actually understated. Yeah, but without your traditional democracy, they're delivering. So the challenge to the Africans is yes to democracy, yes to free and fair elections, but you must deliver in terms of the economy.
Sure.
If you don't deliver, that democracy is not worth it. Look at
Right.
the Sahel regions. What's happening in the Sahel region? There's young people taking power by coup d'etat. We don't support coup d'etats, but those young people are delivering in terms of beneficiation and so on, and they are reacting to the failure by democracy to deliver. So
Sure.
delivery.
Democracy must deliver.
That's it. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
Yeah, no, actually, that actually does make sense. And now that we're on the African continent and the subject, so seeing as we are just mapped here at UJ, what place do you think, and this is especially because UJ is sort of involved in AI discourse and contributions here on the continent of Africa, what can UJ do, especially with contributing to AI within the continent, not just South Africa?
UJ is doing very well. If you look at what we call the 2035 plan, 2035 vision, it's emphasizing societal impact and sustainability.
Yeah.
Societal impact and sustainability. They're saying that in the university, we are saying that education must lead to an impact in society. Education must improve society.
Yeah.
Number two, we must push sustainability. That's why this book is very appropriate, because it's fitting into the UJ agenda. We're also saying we must push technology, transformative technologies, the fourth industrial revolution. But the key issue in the 2035 vision is the issue about societal impact. What is the impact of the university? And also collaborations with other people, partnerships across the world, and how do we ensure that we bring about sustainability, climate change, and poverty, sustainable development goals, and so on. So UJ is doing very well by using its institution as an incubator for knowledge which leads to societal impact, knowledge which leads to sustainability, knowledge which leverages technology, in particular AI. And we are part of that journey with UJ.
How exciting. And, Prof, on that note, congratulations. Recently you have added to, the books and counting, deploying artificial intelligence to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Right here in my hand, and it is orange, like our great University of Johannesburg. And I just want to find out from you, what motivated you to write this book? I know I hear where you're coming from, and I feel like there's more to it.
Exactly. What we're saying is the AI is exciting, AI is all over the world, but we're saying, why don't we link AI to human development?
Right.
Why don't you use AI as a driver of human development? That's the mandate of this book. To say, yes, there are dangers, yes, there are exciting things. You can use AI for weapons, AI for this and the other, AI to make money. Our mandate in this book is to say, no. Why don't we link AI to human development? Why don't you use AI as a driver of human development? And when we say that, we say, okay, the SDGs are a good starting point, because the 17 of them, they cover everything.
Sure.
Poverty, hunger,
Yeah.
gender justice, education, healthcare, community development, sustainability, climate justice. So we said, okay, if we want to link AI to human development, why don't we investigate the UN SDGs?
Right.
Number one question, where are we with the SDGs? We've got 5 years to go. How are we doing?
Sure.
And we find that actually we're doing very badly. 35% success rate. 35%. So humanity is failing on the SDGs.
Yeah.
Humanity is in trouble on the SDGs. In fact, 35% is very generous, because if we took strictly on track, it's 18%. 18%. When we say moderate success, we got 17. 17 plus 18, we get 35. So 35% humanity is failing.
Yeah.
That then says, okay, what's going wrong? So in the book, we try to look at what is going wrong, why we're failing. We analyze that and present the case of the reasons why we're not succeeding. That's question number one. Question number two, what can we do in general to achieve these SDGs?
Right.
Forget technology for now, just in general, investment, partnerships, transparency, accountability, generic interventions that will allow us to achieve the SDGs. That's number 2. Number 3, we say, okay, let's go to technology now. In general, mobile telephony, renewable energy, cybersecurity, AI is one piece. How can we leverage what we call transformative technologies to achieve the SDGs? That's our agenda number 3. Then number 4, and most importantly, we say, can we deploy AI to achieve the SDGs? And you look at SDG number 1, 2, 3 up to 17.
Oh, wow.
And apply AI. Apply AI. Apply AI. That is what we do in that book.
That's
to
excellent.
say, when you look at all those ambitions around hunger, around poverty, around gender justice, around healthcare, around climate, can we use AI to achieve those things? That's what we do in the book. And there's scope. We have 5 years to go, but I think within the next 5 years, we can do quite a bit to achieve the goals. And also, after 2030, we're also saying, what should be the new framework? What are the new goals now? Because 2030, we won't be able to achieve everything.
That's
so in the
true.
book, we're also anticipating a post-2030 framework. And how can that be driven by technology? How can that be driven by AI? That's what we're trying to do in the book. Just to dramatize so you understand why AI is so important. This year alone, in 2025, AI is going to contribute $11 trillion to global GDP. $11 trillion. And that is 10% of global GDP.
Wow.
Global GDP is $110 trillion. So one technology is contributing 10%. It has never happened before. Yeah? Just another number that you find fascinating. In terms of AI, there's what we call generative AI. Your ChatGPT, Grok 4, deep, Meta, AI, and all this Pilot. That type called generative AI, one type of AI, just one type, is going to contribute $4.5 trillion.
Wow.
Just one type of AI.
Sure.
And that is equivalent to the Japanese economy. So one type of AI is as big as the Japanese economy and bigger than all the African economies put together. When we're combined as Africans, we are $3.4 trillion. All of us Africans together. We are worth $3.4 trillion. We're smaller than a type of AI.
Sure.
Us Africans, with our 1.4 billion people, our collective GDP is $3.4 trillion. That number, 3.4, is smaller than one type of AI, which is called generative AI. Another number to just show you that AI is a big deal. The biggest company in the world now is called NVIDIA. NVIDIA. They're about $4.3 trillion market cap. Right now, Google them. They crossed over the $4 trillion number on 9 July this year. They're bigger than Microsoft, bigger than Apple. They're the biggest company in the world by market capitalization. They're called NVIDIA. $4.3 trillion. Again, that company is bigger than the entire of Africa.
Oof.
And when you look at mining companies like BHP, Rio Tinto, they're like small little guys. When you put them next to NVIDIA, they're small. They're so small. They're overshadowed by NVIDIA at $4 trillion. Now, next to NVIDIA in terms of size, you have your Apple, Amazon, and other people. But those guys are also AI driven. So if you think about it, AI is the economy now.
Yeah.
The economy is AI, AI is the economy, because the top 3 companies in the world are all AI driven. Number one of them being NVIDIA. So you can't talk development without talking AI. You can't talk the economy without talking AI. That's why you find, just yesterday, Trump and Starmer were talking about an AI deal, technology deal.
Yeah.
Just yesterday in the UK. Because right now, that's why every time you switch on your TV, people are talking AI. Because AI now is money. AI
tomorrow.
Is economy. You can't talk economics without AI.
Sure.
Now, another dimension I want to emphasize now when I talked about NVIDIA, these guys, they don't do AI systems. They do the hardware. Just the hardware. They put the chips. AI does not run on water. AI doesn't run on air. It runs on chips, hardware, what are called GPUs, NPUs, and CPUs. These are the chips.
For processing and the like.
So this company called NVIDIA, its job is to design and do the software for these chips. That's what they do.
Wow.
And then the fabrication is done by a company called Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company, TSMC, in Taiwan. But in terms of money, NVIDIA is bigger because of the design and the software. So what we're saying is, if NVIDIA is got a market cap of $4 trillion from just designing and writing the software and building these GPUs, surely we need a piece of that pie. Why do we need a piece of that pie? Guess what? All these GPUs are using critical minerals, rare earth minerals. Where are they coming from? From Africa. DRC, South Africa, Zimbabwe. We are saying, why don't we partner with these guys and get a bit of, because the minerals are ours. Why don't you play a role?
Value chain.
Yes.
We need to.
And also be clever. Let's go as a block.
Right.
Don't go as Rwanda and DRC like we saw when Trump was, was having a deal with DRC and Rwanda. You get shortchanged when you go as small little countries.
Yeah.
But if we go together as 1.4 billion Africans with a collective GDP of $3.4 trillion, with all these critical minerals, all under one command. Can you imagine? You say, here I come, I'm the African. Sure. I speak on behalf of 1.4 billion people. Wow. I have a GDP behind me of $3.4 trillion, and I have all the critical minerals of Africa behind me. Let's talk. You get a better deal from the Chinese, a better deal from the Americans and the Europeans because of the scale.
Wow.
If you go as little Rwanda, you get shortchanged. If you go as little South Africa, you get shortchanged. Let's go as one block called Africa and say, all these diamonds, all this gold, all this platinum, all these critical minerals, all these rare earth minerals are under one command, the African command. Let's talk. That way, you can get a better deal from the Americans.
From everyone,
Actually, for anybody. You can imagine. So anyway, that's what we're not doing that, by the way. We're having a deal between China and Botswana, China and DRC, China and South Africa, America and DRC, and we're getting shortchanged. Wake up, African. Let us work together as a bloc. And that way we can be able to live it. That brings me to my next project, which is around critical minerals. That's my next book.
Wow.
But anyway, today we're talking about SDGs and AI.
That is so exciting. But allow me to just go a bit back, So you actually mentioned, that you argue for the democratization of AI. So practically speaking, what does that look like in Africa?
That's a very good question. Let me start from the beginning. We must use AI, okay? But it's not enough. We must also build and develop AI systems as Africans. And number 3, we must participate in that hardware that I was discussing. The reason why we need to democratize AI is, number 1, AI is not neutral. It's being made from Silicon Valley by white males. Not even many women there, white males. So there are biases in that programs, and also it's not designed for the African conditions. So if we're not careful, the biases will come into play and the AI won't be very useful to us. So we must remove elements of coloniality from AI. We call it putting in decoloniality in AI or decolonizing AI.
Right.
So we must make sure that, yes, we use AI, but we also decolonize it, make it useful to ourselves.
So it's like an echo chamber.
Yes, we must kill that echo chamber.
Yeah.
And one way of doing it is for us to also become participants in the creation of the AI systems. Don't just use ChatGPT, Grok 4. Where is the African product? The Chinese got DeepSeek R1.
China's ahead, hey?
Yeah, but guess what? Just as biased as the Americans are, the Chinese are biased as well. If you go to DeepSeek R1 tonight, go and type and say, tell me about Time and Square. What happened in 1999?
It will give you Chinese history.
It will refuse. It will say, I'm an AI assistant. I'm only supposed to give you harmless responses. I don't deal with harmful. Because you know why? The Chinese don't want to talk about Time and Square. Time and Square, that's when they killed those young people who were killed in 1999 when there was, So the Chinese system is also meant to serve Chinese interests. It will not discuss Time and Square. Just try it. Because the Chinese don't want to talk about their bad history. They want to talk about the nice things. Anyway, I don't blame them. I blame you and me. Where are our products? You and I are not producing AI systems.
Just consuming.
So, moral of the story is we must make sure that the African is a participant in the creation of AI systems.
Yeah.
And then the issue is about democracy in AI. Very few people have access to AI. We must make sure more people have access to AI. We must democratize AI so that the poor woman, the poor man, the poor child has access to the technology. Otherwise, it becomes a technology for the elites.
Yeah.
So we need to democratize AI. How? By improving on infrastructure, connectivity,
Digital
speed of
divide.
connectivity. Because if you don't have connectivity, there's no AI.
Yeah.
Access to energy. Without energy, there's no AI. So the message about democratization of AI is to make sure more people have access to AI. But the fundamental way of doing that is to solve the fundamental issues around energy, around digital infrastructure, around connectivity, around speed of connectivity, around equipment, the computers. Do they have computers? Do they have access to laptops and phones? So we need to make sure more women, more men, more children have access to AI through a process of democratizing the technology. It's not guaranteed. Otherwise, it becomes a technology for the elites. And also energy is so critical because without energy there's no AI. When you talk about building an LLM, when you talk about building a GPU or building an AI factory, it requires so much energy. So when you have load shedding, you can't do AI. So South Africa, make up your mind. Do you want load shedding or do you want AI? You can't do both. So you must solve load shedding if you are serious about AI.
Sure.
Otherwise, you're just talking. So in this country, we have a deficit of 8,800 megawatts. That's why we do load shedding. In Zimbabwe, there's a deficit of 600 megawatts. So we do load shedding. In Zambia, a deficit of 550 megawatts. We must close the gap.
Yeah.
Because without enough energy for our normal use, you can
can't do
forget AI. For example, an AI factory, a standard AI factory might require the equivalent of the energy required by Zimbabwe, 2,000 megawatts in one factory.
For
just
equivalent to a country.
A country, yes.
Sure.
Equivalent to a city.
Sure.
That's why right now some companies are coming up with their nuclear power plants, private nuclear power plants to generate energy for AI. Just private, because the energy is so huge. Number two, money. You need so much money to do these things. To build an LLM, you might need $100 million, yeah, to do that. Number three, talent. In some of these factories where talent, we need 100 PhDs. Some of these LLMs, in one company, you have 100 PhDs working on a product.
Sure.
So here's the message to Africa. You can't do AI as South Africa, as Nigeria, as Zimbabwe, too small. If we work together as Africa, we have 1.4 billion people. Maybe we can produce the engineers and the PhDs required.
The sum is greater.
Secondly, the energy. If we do Inga Dam, for example, in the DRC, that project will be able to power Africa. So we collectivize our energy, we'll be able to provide enough energy to do AI. But more importantly, cash. With our $3.4 trillion GDP, we can have the reasonable amount of money that is required to do AI. Let's look at South Africa, for example. We're talking about 62 million people. That's chicken change. We're talking about a GDP of $500 billion. That's nothing. It's $500 billion GDP here. Whereas the company has got $4 trillion.
Sure.
So the game of AI is a game of numbers. Energy, lots of energy is required. Cash, lots of cash is required. Education, talent, lots of PhDs are required. These three things, talent, energy, and cash, can be best solved by working together. As a region, SADC, as a region, East African Community, as a region, ECOWAS, but more importantly, as Africa.
Yeah.
We need numbers for us to be consequential in the AI revolution.
Sure. Guys, as you've heard it from Prof, stop consuming and start producing.
Correct.
You can't always be withdrawing from the source. You should be depositing towards the source as well. And that was just so thought-provoking. Oh,
Africans must become creators of knowledge.
Yeah.
Africans must become creators of AI systems. Don't just be a consumer of knowledge. Don't just be a consumer of AI systems. Be a producer of AI systems. But more importantly, we also want to be involved in the production of the hardware.
Yeah.
The GPUs, the NPUs, and CPUs. We want AI factories on the continent.
AI for
Cassava,
Africa.
yeah. Cassava with Strive Masiwa working with NVIDIA to bring the GPUs to Africa. Okay, we need more of that. But we also need to leverage our minerals and say, why don't we partner? The minerals are ours.
And you need them. So you
So
do
let's talk.
require partnership.
Let's talk.
Yeah. That's excellent. Prof, thank you so much for sharing all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure those on the other side of the screen are as intrigued as I am. This is so thought-provoking. I might just change, where my research is going, because I just feel that element of AI could definitely make a difference, as you mentioned, to start producing this knowledge, not just take, but we should start producing.
And let me emphasize one thing, because I know young people out there listening. Collective success is more important than individual success. Yes, do well, become a doctor, become an engineer, an economist, a journalist, be a superstar in your area, but always remember, collective success is more important than individual success. You will never be respected as a South African until South Africa has done well as a country. So we must make sure that we work together to raise the quality of life of every South African.
Yeah, not just your own.
We must make sure we work together to raise the quality of life of every African. You will never be respected as an African until Africans have done well across the continent. Let us use technology to drive the quality of life of every African. That's why we're talking about linking AI to human development. Linking AI to human chances, to the quality of life of our people. And I want to always emphasize this thing of collective success being more important than individual success. I always give an example of my, when I used to go to World Economic Forum in Davos and talk, and they say, wow, interesting. And then they say, where are you from? And I refuse to answer. I talk about, I've been to MIT, I'm in Harvard, in Oxford.
Yeah.
They say, no, yeah, we know that's in your resume, but which country are you from? And again, I deliberately,
I hear you.
then eventually I say, I'm from Zimbabwe. They're like, oh, come on, brother. You're from Zimbabwe. If you're that smart, how come your country is messed up? How come there's cholera in Harare?
Sure.
You see?
Yeah.
My rock star status, my superstardom is undermined by the bankrupts of my country.
Ish.
I will never be respected as a Zimbabwean until Zimbabwe is a superstar economy. Raising to the next level, I will never be respected as an African until Africa has done well as a continent.
It's true.
You'll be judged by the success or lack of it of your people. Take it personally.
Yeah.
Be a superstar doctor, superstar engineer, superstar journalist, superstar manager. But remember, at the end of the day, you'll be judged by the collective nature of the success.
Sure.
Who else is successful? Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jordan are never respected when the ghetto is black. 1/3 of the young black males in America are in prison, parole, or probation. Why should I respect Obama or Oprah Winfrey or Michael Jordan?
Sure.
The ghetto is black. Poverty is black in America. 1/3 of the young black males in America are in prison, parole, or probation. So why would I respect an Obama or a Oprah Winfrey? Fix America, Obama. Fix America, Oprah Winfrey. Fix America, Michael Jordan. Otherwise, you are just as ghetto as the ghetto is black. Let's fix the poorest among ourselves. If the poorest among ourselves are not resolved in terms of their interests, you deserve no respect.
Sure.
So AI is an opportunity, technology is an opportunity to raise the poor, to raise the disadvantaged, so that all of us can have some respect. Otherwise, no respect is due to you, my sister.
Sure.
I thank you so very much.
And that was personal, because you said take it personally. That's life advice, And thank you so much for all that you've just shared and covered, And just on a lighter note, right? Because on this journey
Sure.
that we've taken, we have now served the main part of the meal, which usually, it's the steak and the rice. So allow me to garnish that main meal
Sure.
and give you a light-hearted question.
Sure.
So, so you've been a roboticist, you've been a politician, a consultant, an author. So let's say you could only pick one of these careers for the rest of your forever, and you cannot change your mind when you're on the journey and you're like, I think I want to swap. There's no swapping. Which cap would you pick and why?
I'll take public service.
Oh, okay.
I'll take public service. Why? Because I'll touch more lives. So if you had to force me to choose, I'll choose being a deputy prime minister.
Oh, exciting.
I'll choose being a public servant, because as a public servant, I touch more lives.
That's true.
And hence, I'll be able to empower more people.
That's lovely. And, just in closing, because you did give some great advice to the young viewers on the other side of the screen, but if you could give yourself, a message to the 21-year-old version of yourself,
Yes.
what would you say? Any advice?
Yeah, the key issue is be broad. The broader, the better. Yes, choose your area of concentration, but every area is important. Don't be silo-minded. Be open-minded. If you are studying history as your major, look out and learn about economics, about accounts, about law, about engineering. If you've chosen medicine as your field, make sure you read about economics, the constitution, sociology, and robotics, so that you'll be a better doctor. You'll be a better doctor because of the diversity of your knowledge system. You'll be a better engineer because you're broad. You'll be a better economist because you're broad. So the advice to the 21-year version of me will be broad. Every type of knowledge is important, and try to master and get involved in more things.
Yeah.
Second advice would be entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and digital skills are mandatory skills. In other words, whatever you do, please learn about entrepreneurship. Please learn about financial literacy. Please master some digital skills. Because whatever you do, those three will come in handy.
That's true.
The last advice is suffering and pain are good.
It's true.
Don't go out to look for suffering. Don't go out to look for pain. But when it does happen to you, when the hard times do okay, when adversity does okay, when you go through hard times, embrace it. Why? Because that's how you build resilience. That which does not kill you can make you stronger. So don't go out and create suffering. Don't go out and create hard times. But when they do happen to you, when you hit the hard times, embrace it. Sometimes you learn more from failure than from success.
100%.
So when failure does happen, embrace it and say, what can I learn from this experience? How can I become a better person because of adversity? Through adversity, through failure, through pain, you build resilience. Without those things, I don't know where you're going to get your resilience from.
Sure.
So those are the pieces of advice I'd give a 20-year or 1-year-old that
Version of yourself. Yeah.
that adversity is an opportunity. That which does not kill you can make you better.
Wonderful.
Ask yourself, what can I learn from this failure? And also, by the way, when they give you lemons, make lemonade.
Flavored lemonade too, different types. Lemonade tea, lemonade cooler, lemonade mocktail.
Yeah. So don't just say, oh, they gave me lemons, I'm so upset, I got lemons. Make lemonade.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm from the future and I'm talking to the 21 version of yourself and I'm saying you made it in life. Continue.
I'll keep trying my best. I'm working on my book number 9.
Wonderful.
So I'll come back and talk about it when it's ready.
Of course. And, guys, I just want to share that I'm holding a wealth of knowledge here in my hands. And, for those who possibly don't know where they can connect with your masterpieces over here, your intellectual property, where can they actually get these wonderful reads?
These books should be in exclusive books, yeah? And they're also online, Amazon.com. And also the publishers. One is CRC Press. You can get it from there. The other one is Springer. But again, you can also get in touch with me directly. I can assist you to get them.
That's wonderful.
But it's important that they are read. So DM, and then I'll help. But exclusive books, the airports, Amazon.com, and then Springer website and CRC Press
Well,
online.
you guys heard it from Prof himself. And Prof, thank you so much for joining us. We are humbled by this wealth of knowledge that you've just given us for free, firstly. And then, of course, even leaving us with where we can get in touch with the rest of your wonderful work. Again, thank you so much for joining us and just sharing with this wonderful community. And you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And again, I'm your host, Palesa Ramafola, and this was a special episode of In Conversation with You Journeys.